Hello, welcome to Vivi's Book Loft. Today I'll be answering a few questions from the Booktube Newbie Tag. My first post on my channel was a short summary of what I wanted this channel to be, what I wanted to talk about, but I didn't go into the details of what I'm expecting from this channel or my objective or where I see my channel going. So I thought I'd take this chance to give a better introduction and to give more details about my channel and maybe a bit about myself. Let's start with the first question. Why did you start this channel? So I wanted to start a booktube review channel for a while now. I just didn't go through with it because I knew that recording and editing plus the posting would take a lot of effort. I only have the basic knowledge of how to edit videos and I'm just learning as I go. It was a little daunting to record and edit. I also hesitated about putting my face online. At first I wanted to try the VTuber style of video, but then I realized that was more work than than the usual vlogging style. But then my sister started an AuthorTube channel and she kind of encouraged me to make my own. And then when we opened our online bookstore, Cosmos, Valor, and Vows, we were looking for a way to build a social media presence. So we were thinking about making a blog to review books and just talk about books to create community engagement. So I thought, why not do a booktube channel since I've been thinking about creating one anyway. Yeah, we do have another separate channel for the Cosmos, Valor, and Vows, but there's no content there yet. I'll still have to make some content for that one. But basically this channel is kind of like, like a sister channel, affiliated channel. I guess. Yeah, that's the right term, affiliated channel. The third reason is that I just want to talk about books and what I thought about the books. So I just wanted to share my opinions. I leave reviews on Goodreads and Storygraph, but I think there's something different about speaking my thoughts. It feels more not direct because I'm not really having conversations with anyone, but it feels more immediate. And I think I could express my emotions more because, when you're typing, you can't really be sure about the tone. And I know when I write reviews, it feels more, not formal, but it feels more like formal. But yeah, talking about it like this, it feels more casual and I get to express a different part of my review compared to the written reviews. When I write reviews, I sound so serious. The video format, hearing me speak, I think gives a bit more accurate tonal expressions on how I review books. That's why I created this channel. Second question, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? Well, first of all, I think having multiple perspectives is always good. We're not all reading the same books, but just a diversity of perspectives or voices is always good in any space. So yeah, my perspective, that's one unique thing. The other thing is I talk about prose fiction, specifically adult fiction in the fantasy and romance genres. And that's basically a lot of other booktubers, but I think what is unique in my channel is I also talk about interactive fiction. I've posted 2 videos already about interactive fiction. The first one, which is the Breach the Archangel Job video. I did a brief intro on what interactive fiction is before doing a review of Breach the Archangel Job. So if you're interested, I'll be linking that video. And then I have the second interactive fiction video, which is the latest one. It's about this work in progress called Infamous. I haven't seen a lot of content or videos regarding interactive fiction, so maybe that's one unique thing about my channel. What are you most excited for about this new channel? One of the things that I'm excited about is getting more readers to try interactive fiction. It is popular now, but I don't think it's mainstream. If I talk about it and maybe shed more light on what's going on in the interactive fiction world, then maybe we could get more readers and, grow this fan base. And then maybe we could support more authors who are writing interactive fiction. Number 4, why do you love reading? I love reading because it's a very personal and versatile way to experience things, emotions, events that are larger than life. You could see in the read about different perspectives, about different worlds without leaving your room. So yeah, I think it's just a way to broaden your world without being confined by, your financial situation, your time restrictions or whatever. It's just you and your imagination taking you wherever you want to go. I think reading is one of the most intimate and personal and versatile ways to enjoy a story. The only thing that you can get more hands-on in terms of experiencing a story is through acting. You have acting and then reading. What book or series got you into reading? The very, very first fiction novel that I read is The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. I have a copy here, but this is not the one. I had an old copy. This is back in the Philippines. I was 13 or 14. My math tutor suggested that I read something, like an article or a page in the magazine, whatever, as long as I read something per day. And he told me that that would broaden my vocabulary. At that time, I was like, sure, whatever. I was young and my interest was watching TV. I used to watch cartoons back then and, movies and TV shows. I didn't really take that advice seriously, but then one day, I don't know how, a random copy of the Da Vinci Code showed up. I read the summary and just gave it a try, and it was just like a mind-blown moment. Before this, I only read textbooks for school, right? And textbooks are sometimes very boring. I did not like reading, so I didn't realize that if you read, it's like a movie playing in your mind. So yeah, reading the Da Vinci Code just opened this realization for me that reading is actually very, very fun. And I don't think I've had my mind worked like that before. I'm the type of reader that when I read, it plays in my mind. Well, given that it's written well, it plays in my mind like a movie. It was a discovery for me, and I was hooked then. After the Da Vinci Code, I tried The Tale of Despereaux, which I didn't like that much. I mean, it was okay. I wasn't really a big fan. So I was like, maybe the Da Vinci Code is more of my type, like adventure, mystery. And then in high school, there was this reading boom that happened. And when I say high school, I meant in the Philippines. So I was like 13, 14. There was this reading boom where people just started bringing books and then we would pass them around. And someone brought in Aragon. Yeah, here, Aragon. I discovered fantasy and I was instantly like in love. So Aragon led to Eldest, and Eldest led to not the book 3 because it didn't exist back then. So it led to the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. I don't think you see it up there. Yeah, it's somewhere up there. You'll see it later on. Terry Goodkind, Sword of Truth series, that's a 12-book series. I didn't read them all at the same time because in the Philippines, access to fiction is kind of limited, especially when I'm looking for Western authors. I couldn't really read the complete series then. But yeah, those are the books that I've started. So the Da Vinci Code, Aragon, and the Sword of Truth. I think of those 3, well, 2 series and 1 book. I think of those 3 as the books that really started my reading journey because it informed my tastes in books and it just opened my eyes to the magical world of books. Next one. What challenges do you think starting a Booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I'm currently experiencing it. Actually, my biggest challenge is keeping with routine. In general, I'm sort of bad at keeping routine. It's very easy to fall off the wagon and then harder to get back on. When I started my channel, I had a part-time job, so I had more time, and I was also on vacation back then. So I overestimated my time. Ideally, I planned to post videos every 2 weeks, but yeah, I quickly learned that editing takes a while, and because because I tend to talk a lot, the videos get longer, so it's harder to edit. And then after that, I got a full-time job, so my time is even more limited. Just keeping up with the channel, like posting on a regular basis, is one of my hardest challenges, I would say. Yeah, there's not a lot of time to record and edit. Maybe you'd notice my first video is very formatted. That's because I wrote outlines. But yeah, now that I have a full-time job, I don't have time to write the scripts out like that anymore. So I just try to like talk candidly. But then that would end up with a longer raw footage. So that ends up lengthening the edits. I guess that's one of the big challenges as well, how to optimize my workflow. So yeah, so that's routine posting and the workflow. When did you start reading? I was 13 or 14. In the Philippines, I would have been in high school. We don't do middle school there, or I think they do middle school now. But back then, on my time, we didn't do. Where do you read? Anywhere. Anywhere I can read. My bedroom, kitchen, in a moving car, waiting for a bus, whatever. Luckily, I don't get dizzy or nauseous when I read in a car. So I like reading physical copies. That's my main mode of reading. I like turning the pages and looking at the words. But then I started to run out of space, and the digital copies are also cheaper. Then I started reading digital copies, which is more convenient because I can just read on my phone. And then recently, because I've started driving sometime last year, my reading time has been cut down. Started listening to audiobooks. I found a dramatized version of the Blood and Ash series, so from the graphic audio version.
Nothing happened, Victor.
Nothing? Boy, I may have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night.
Thanks for pointing out the obvious, but you're stepping way over the line.
I am. Do you understand what she is? Do you even understand what you could have caused if anyone other than I had come upon you two?
Victor!
I know exactly who she is, not what she is. Maybe you've forgotten that she's not just a damn inanimate object whose only purpose is to serve a kingdom, but I haven't.
Hawk!
Oh, yeah. That's rich coming from you. How do you see her, Hawk? Another notch in your bedpost.
Victor!
Is it because she's the ultimate challenge?
I get that you're protective of her. I understand that. But I'll tell you just one more time. You're way out of line.
And I'll promise you this. It'll be over my dead body before you spend another moment alone with her.
Hawk smiled then, one side of his lips curling up. There was no dimple. His features seemed to sharpen in the moonlight, creating shadows under his eyes and on his cheekbones.
She thinks of you as a father.
This sent a chill down my spine.
It would hurt her greatly if something unfortunate were to happen to you.
Is that a threat?
I'm just letting you know that is the only reason I'm not making your promise come true this very second. But you need to step back. If you don't, someone is going to get hurt, and that someone won't be me.
It's another eye-opening moment because I used to not like listening to audiobooks because sometimes I couldn't concentrate when I'm listening because I like reading the words so I can appreciate the technical side of how an author uses the language to tell their story. But then I graduated school, I'm working, so there's very limited time to just sit and read. Sometimes I'm not vibing with some of the audiobooks because the way the narrators would deliver the lines, they just rub me the wrong way sometimes. Even though, there's no problem with the audio, no problem with the pronunciation and the clarity, the delivery, but sometimes their voice. I'm sorry. But yeah, sometimes just specific voices would rub me the wrong way and I couldn't concentrate on the book. So modes of reading: physical, digital, or audiobook, like the regular audiobook or the dramatized version. Up to today, my preferred my preferred format is print. Ideally physical, because once you buy it, it's yours. No one's gonna take it away from you if someone decides to stop supporting whatever software. Okay, next one. What kind of books do you like to read? I like reading fantasy and romance and all of the subgenres under them. My most favorite genre, I would say epic fantasy. I like books that have deep lore and books that are also long, because that way I get to spend more time with the characters. Kind of like Terry Goodkind's Sword of Truth series. There's 12 books. I would just have a lot of time getting to know these characters and watching them change and grow. I tend to gravitate towards series because of the same thing. You get to be immersed in this world with these characters, and once the series ends, it's bittersweet. You're satisfied, but then you're also sad because you won't hear about those characters again unless you reread the series. I just love books that have very extensive lore, intricate world building, because then I get to have more time with the characters. My favorite type of romance is fantasy romance, which is not to be confused with romantasy, because in my mind those two are very different things. For me, if I say fantasy romance or romance fantasy, in my mind that would mean the fantasy aspect is equal to the romance, or the fantasy is more prominent and the romance is an addition, like a side plot. And when I think of fantasy, it's the other way around. Like the romance would be more prominent and the fantasy is more of like a backdrop, just the setting of this romance. Maybe others don't see it this way, but in my mind, there's just a very distinct line, because before romantasy was a thing, like before the term romantasy was created and was used, there were already a lot of books that are straight up fantasy with romantic subplots. They weren't called romantasy or anything. Now with the new term romantasy, because in my mind, if you need a new term, then something is distinct enough to warrant a new term, a new name. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so next question. How do I review or rate a book? So I focus on the technical side of writing. When I'm giving a review, I break it down into the plot, the characters, and the writing. So like the craft. It's not always a clear percentage, but those big three have more weight than my enjoyment of the book. Not to say that my enjoyment doesn't count, but it has a smaller percentage. So maybe like, 15 to 20%. Because for me, it's hard to enjoy a book if the plot or characters or the writing are not fleshed out or polished. So the number one department? I'm forgetting the word, sorry. Category, oh my god. The number one category that I look at is the characters, because I could read the most unoriginal plot, but if the characters have engaging dynamics or backgrounds or character arcs, then I would be interested. Kind of like how fans of DC are not tired of different timelines, because you love those characters and you love to see those characters be put in different situations, and you'd love to see them in those different environments and see how different they would react in whatever situation you put them in. So yeah, for me, if the characters are solid, the plot can take a backseat, basically. All that to say is my number one category that I'm looking at is the characters, which also means that that's probably the category that I'll be judging the most when I'm reviewing. I shouldn't say judging. That's the category that I'll be paying attention to. Plot is second because it has to make sense. I said that if the plot is not original, then I'm fine with it. It still has to make sense. There still should be logic within the world. There should still be themes that are clear throughout. It just has to make sense. It just has to be grounded in the story that you're trying to tell. I would say writing is the third thing that I look at, because sometimes if the plot and the characters are good, I can overlook a shaky writing. Maybe if the writing style is not the style that I prefer, but the character and plot are good, then I can handle it. I'm thinking about Taking Fisher because I do have like a love-hate, one-sided relationship with Taking Fisher books because she writes very interesting plots and engaging characters, and she's really good at creating worlds that are very weird and unsettling, and I like that. But then her writing style is just not for me. Actually gonna have to push through if I want to read about characters and know about what's going on with them. So in terms of stars, so star ratings, because Goodreads and Storygraph work on a 5-star basis, so I'll just break it down following that format. For me, 1 star means unreadable. It sounds harsh, but I just mean this in the most literal way. Like, it's hard to read. If it's hard for me to read a book, like I keep closing it, or I keep reading the same sentence, or I keep losing focus, to me that is unreadable. Usually the plot, character, and writing are not up to standards. They are lacking. Either the plot doesn't make sense, or it's flimsy, the characters are flat, and the writing is full of grammar mistakes, or the dialogues are unnatural. All of that contributes to 1 star. 1 star also means a did not finish. If we could put negatives, then I would put -1 as a do not finish. 2 stars means there is something there that made me want to know what happened. So either the plot is very interesting, or the characters are very engaging and care about them, so I managed to finish to the end, but I was fighting my way through. The writing is terrible, or the writing has a lot of errors, or the writing is just simply boring. Again, I know it sounds harsh, but what I mean boring is that I keep putting the book down, or I keep losing focus, I keep reading the same sentence. 2 stars are my biggest disappointment because there is something there, there's a potential, but it didn't grow into that potential. So you're just left with this feeling that this could have been good if it was edited or written better. 3 stars is when the plot or characters are developed, but the writing could use some improvements. The plot is engaging, it makes sense, the characters are well-rounded, I'm invested in them, I want to know about them, what happens to them, I do care about the characters, but there's just something lacking in the writing. Maybe it's just plain, or maybe, the dialogues are not landing. Something about the writing. For a 3 star, I would say this is a book that I enjoyed it. It's okay. Okay, so 4 stars is when the plot and characters are well-rounded and engaging, and the writing is creative or distinct. The plot makes sense, the plot is interesting, the plot is saying something, like, the message, the central theme. The characters feel like real people, everything makes sense, their actions are very grounded, and the writing has a clear voice. It's not generic, it's not boring, it's not bland. You can see the author's creativity, just very polished storytelling where you can really see that each word was chosen to serve the story or the plot. For a 4 star, there are still some improvements that could be made, but otherwise it reads as very polished and solid storytelling. So now 5 stars. 5 stars means no notes. I could not think of how this book could be improved to serve the story better. For me, 5 star doesn't mean perfect grammar or very poetic writing. A 5 star is where the plot, characters, and writing all work together to create this vision, this story that has a central theme. Like, basically everything is harmony, everything is serving the story that the author wants to tell. It's the best way to tell this story, basically. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let's get to the next question. Do you have pet peeves? Yes, I have a lot of pet peeves. The thing that comes to mind right away is the reliance on tropes, where the trope comes first before the story. I think we've all noticed that recently publishers market their books by comparing it to other books. this is the combination of blah and blah. Or they just say enemies to lovers, dark romance enemies to lovers with a strong female character. You know, it's very tropey. Basically it's using hashtags to kind of sell the book, but then the story takes a backseat, or the story is not even fleshed out. The characters are rewrites of characters we've seen before because they're popular. Okay, what do you like seeing in a book? I love it when every plot point and character arc all come together at the climax. Everything is related to the other. How should I explain this? You know, when the plot and character arc are paralleling each other and, you know, they're saying the same thing or they're reinforcing this message or central theme, and everything comes neatly at the climax where everything gets resolved or everything gets emphasized, like a domino effect. This causes that and everything causes that, and it comes to this inevitable climax. It makes me feel like we've reached the peak of the journey. Everything has led to this, and this is the big moment. And I just really like it when it ties neatly. For example, I read the Rhaenyra Chronicles and Rhaenyra Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan. I forget which one is the main trilogy, if it's the Chronicles or the Revelations. But the main trilogy is, let's say at the present, it's about this warrior and a thief, assassin joining together, and they have this adventure and they get to know each other, they become friends. There's a prequel trilogy where you meet all the characters that are eventually going to show up in the main story. Because I came late into this series, so I first read the prequels because I like doing chronological order. So I first read the prequel and then the main series, and it's just amazing seeing all these characters, all these plot points come to the end of the main series. It just feels like this, you know, you went on this long journey, you've met all these people, they became your friends, and then finally you're at this point. Yeah, it's just such a good feeling, especially if the conclusion is satisfying. By satisfying, I meant that it's a logical end based on whatever happened throughout the book series. I hope I explained that properly, but yes, I just love it when everything, like, you know. And we have the last question, which is, what does your bookshelf look like? And how do you organize your books? Here is how I organize my books. Okay, so this is what my bookshelf looks like. I know it's a bit dark at the top there, but basically I have two shelves. One is taller than the other, but they're both kind of fairly tall. So I organize my books by genre first, and then alphabetically by author. Before this, I used to order my books by subgenre as well. So all the urban fantasies would stay together, and then the epic fantasies would stay together. But this time, I just put them all together. Also, all the fantasies, no matter what the subgenre is. So I'm just gonna get closer. The book starts here, so we have all the fantasies. Well, I mostly have fantasies anyway, so most of what you see here is a fantasy book. So we have at the top there, letter A with Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have a space there because I'm waiting for my special edition for first two books for Blood and Ash. And then we go down here. You see all those Terry Goodkind books. Some of them I haven't read yet. I mean, some of them, like a lot of the books on my shelf here, I haven't read. But before, I also used to put the unread books in a different shelf, but I just put them all together now. So yeah, the Terry Goodkind books, there's more at the back. I don't know if you can see. You can see them peeking out there. Before, I used to have a shelf just for Terry Goodkind because it used to be on this bookshelf, which if you can see, it's kind of smaller. Like the shelves are shorter, so I just had them all on one shelf there. And yeah, so it goes all the way down to V with J.R. Verdi, and then notebooks at the bottom. Okay, so for the next shelf, we have the YA at the top here. So I don't have a lot of YA. I just mostly read adult fiction. But if you can see, like, even the YA, it's mostly fantasy. So this shelf is where the mythology-inspired books are. There's a Starion and Sesshomaru. And then this section, it's kind of like the miscellaneous shelf. I just didn't know where to put them. So I have the Dan Brown and some literary works there. And this shelf, where Astarion is just lounging there. This shelf is the first of the Rick Riordan shelf. Okay, so Rick Riordan gets 2 shelves by himself just because I have a lot of books that are written by him. So there's a space there because I'm waiting for my Illumicrate special edition covers. Last but not least is the romances. So I tried to put the fantasy romance together, the contemporary romance, historical romance. Those books are there I just bought, so I haven't organized them yet. And then at the very bottom is just more miscellaneous stuff, like my office supplies, sort of, and a bunch of tarot decks. I have more books outside my bedroom, but mostly those are the textbooks and some like reference guides for drawing and a bunch of witchcraft books for references. Okay, so that's my shelf. So that's all of the questions for the Booktube Newbie Tag. Is late, I know. We're several months in. I started my channel October 23, 2025. It is May 22, 2026, so it is late, but late is better than never. If you think of more questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I will be happy to answer. I'll also link our bookstore in my description, Cosmos Valor and Vows.store. If you are wanting to buy a book for yourself or for a loved one, do check us out. We're based in Canada. We do free shipping over $75 if you're in Canada. We're trying to bring down the shipping costs because I know we understand that shipping really is horrible. So we're trying to find ways to minimize the shipping. So hopefully we'll figure out a sweet spot there. But yeah, check us out, Cosmos Valor and Vows.store. Link down below. I will also link my previous videos in case you are interested. That's it for me today. I will see you next time. Bye.